My child, before the ships came, before the noise of cannons and the cry of chains, there was peace, there was laughter. The lands we now call Nigeria were alive, with the sound of stories, music, and trade. Across the wide plains of Oyo, horses galloped beneath a golden sun. Men rode proudly in shining leather, their spears gleaming like morning dew. The Alafins, the kings, ruled with wisdom and counsel. Market women called out prices in sing-song voices, selling yams, beads, and bright cloths that caught the wind like banners of joy. Children ran through the courtyards, chasing goats and dreams. The air was full of life, full of tomorrow. Far to the south stood Benin City, behind walls made of red earth, walls so long travelers said they stretched beyond sight. Inside those walls, the Oba, a great king named Ijaw, filled his city with beauty and discipline. Bronze workers, masters of fire and form, shaped stories into metal. They molded the faces of kings, queens, and warriors, so that the memory of their people would never fade. These were not simple villages, my child. They were kingdoms, proud and organized. They had roads and art, markets and laws, long before Europe even whispered their names. Our people were thinkers, traders, and builders. Down by the great rivers lived the Ijaw, the Efik, and the Ibibio. They spoke the language of the waters, canoes gliding smoothly through mangroves and marsh. They fished, traded, and told stories by firelight, tales of gods who lived in the deep, and spirits who protected the forest. At night the crickets sang while elders shared stories that taught wisdom, and children, their eyes wide with wonder, listened to the rhythm of their own heritage. Then one morning, on the edge of the horizon, something strange appeared. Boats, but not like any boats they had seen before. Large wooden giants with wings made of white cloth that caught the wind. It was the year 1472, and the first Portuguese sailors had arrived on the coast of what we now call Lagos. At first it was peaceful. The strangers brought shiny beads, mirrors that caught the sun, and cloth woven in strange patterns. Our ancestors, ever welcoming, offered them pepper, ivory, and gold in return. The visitors smiled, and our people smiled back. For in our ways, my child, a guest is a blessing. But soon, more ships came, and then more. The trade began to change. They no longer asked for pepper or cloth. They began to ask for people. They wanted the strong men who worked the fields, the skilled women who wove and cooked and healed, and even the children whose eyes still sparkled with dreams. They called it trade, but it was the beginning of sorrow. Over time, the coastal towns became famous, but not for their riches or their wisdom. For the wrong reasons. Badagry in the west, Bani and Calabar in the south. Beautiful towns by the water turned into doors through which millions would be taken away. But remember this, my child, they were not weak. They were not born slaves. They were farmers, musicians, blacksmiths, mothers, kings. They had names, they had homes. They spoke languages that sang like poetry. Long before the world called them property, they called themselves sons and daughters of the soil. They danced to drums beneath the moon. They praised their ancestors. They spoke to the stars. The land was rich in the spirit of the people, richer still, but the ships kept coming, and the friendship that began with smiles turned cold. Some local leaders began to trade captives from wars. Some resisted. They fought to protect their people. But the tide was strong, and the ships were many. The world was changing, slowly, dangerously. When the young men went to hunt, some did not return. When mothers sent their children to fetch water, some vanished with the dawn. And though we do not tell these things to frighten our little ones, we tell them so they will remember. From the shores of Nigeria, ships sailed west across the vast Atlantic Ocean. They carried their stolen human cargo to Brazil, to the Caribbean, to the Americas, and to Europe. But that, my child, that is a story for another day. For now, remember this. Before the ships came, there was greatness. There were cities that shone. There were families who loved. There were people who dreamed. And the heart of that land, the heart of our ancestors, still beats within us today. My child, history is not only pain, it is memory. To remember who we were before the storms came is to know who we can still become. Before the ships came, before the chains, before the world changed forever.